Now, I want to give us an example of what it looks like to delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I think a good example of this is like Genesis chapter 22, right? Think about Abraham. Lokelani is going to read a couple verses from that chapter. This is a famous chapter, and this is the chapter of the Bible where God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son. Now, if you need to know a little bit about Abraham's backstory, Abraham was pagan. He wasn't like this like super spiritual guy. He wasn't like Noah, right? Who just like, God is like, Noah, you're like the only Christian in the land. Can you build a boat? I'll give you the power to do it. We're going to save a lot of people. Abraham was pagan. He had false gods, fake gods when God met him, but God still met him. God still chose him. God still gave promises to him. The promises is that I am going to make you a father of many nations. The Messiah is going to come through your family, and millions of Christians, many of those who call on the name of the Lord are going to come through your family. So we call him the father of our faith. Now, he lived all the way up to like 99 years old without having a kid. So God gave him this promise, and he's waiting on a physical child, which was a part of the promise. And yet he didn't actually get his kid until he's 99 like years old, almost 100 years old. No kid. His wife is like super old too. He's a little bit older than Sarah. So what's happening? The whole time, all Abraham wanted was a child. All he wanted was a son, someone that could bear his name. A lot of dads want that. And yet, no matter how much they tried, they couldn't get pregnant. And through wanting that, Abraham was also very rich. God had a lot of favor on him. Not that rich people have more favor on their life than God does. Amos, the book of Amos talks all about that because they got it confused that God is favoring those who are rich more than the poor. God likes the rich more than he likes the poor. And the fact that they are rich is proof that God likes them more. But that wasn't true at all. And so he sent a poor farmer like Amos to go out and scold them and say, hey, that's not true. But God can pour out blessings to whoever he wants to pour out blessings. And so he just so happened to make Abraham very wealthy. So Abraham would have everything he needed to make sure that the families were provided for, him being the father of our faith, that all that would be taken care of. And so it was just an extra blessing on top of it. But it didn't mean that God liked Abraham more than other people like Amos, who was poor, this preacher out in the fields, this shepherd preacher. At the same time, shepherd farmer, at the same time, while he was rich, he had all that and it wasn't enough to delight him. He had all that and the money didn't bring delight to his soul. What he really wanted was a son. And Abraham delighted himself in the Lord, and he eventually got a son. Now, was the son, Isaac, the real desire of Abraham's heart? That's the question. Psalms 37:4, Lokelani read it. Delight yourself in the Lord, he will give you the desires of your heart. Does that mean once we're happy in God, that he will give us the stuff that we want? Once we're like Abraham and we follow God, we obey God, he will give us a son? That's not what it's about. The desire that Abraham really wanted wasn't a son. And he didn't know this until after God asked him to sacrifice his son. The desire that Abraham really wanted was God. When you delight yourself in God, what you get is more God. More of God. If you delight yourself in the Lord just because you want to get God's stuff, God's blessings, you're not delighting yourself in the Lord. You're delighting yourself in the blessings. So that's why it says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart, which are him, what your heart really wants. And I'm talking about your new heart, because your old heart, your wicked heart, your sinful heart doesn't want God. What your new heart really wants is God. This is the promise of the Old Testament, that God is going to give us new hearts. The Messiah is going to come. He's going to die in our place, take the spiritual, the physical death that we deserve because of our sin. And then we trust in him. We trust in his resurrection. We trust in his perfect sacrifice. What happens is you become new and God gives you a new heart. Now you love God, not because you need to pay him back, not because you're trying to prove yourself to God. Now you love God because you've experienced his love. When a love as great as God's is poured out on you so heavily as it is at the cross, what that does is when you really know it and understand it, it changes you and naturally you respond out of love. And when that happens, now the desires of your new heart are not the things of this earth. The desires of your new heart is you want God and you can't get enough of him. You want to drink more of the living water. You want to drink and drink and drink until you're satiated, and then you want to drink again. And it's the same with eating of him. You just want to eat and eat and eat the bread of life until you've had your fill, and then go back and have some more, because now he's your new delight. Amen. Let's read those couple verses from Genesis chapter 22.
And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that is on the seashore. And your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies, and in your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham lived at Beersheba.
Amen. You can have some of my water if you need some.
Thanks, sweetie.
So that was verses 15 through 19. And what happens here is God says to Abraham, I'm going to bless you because I know now you want me, not just my stuff. I gave you your son, and then I told you to give your son back to me, sacrifice your son. The whole time it was just a test. God knew in his sovereignty, in his foreknowledge, he knew that Abraham, something had changed in him. The whole time, his entire life, he thought he wanted a son. Then he had a son, and then he realized that what I really want is God. And after that, God says to him, listen, now we're going to start. Now I'm going to give you what I promised you from the beginning. Father of many nations, all these kids are going to come from you. You are going to be the father of the faith. Abraham learned to be happy in God. He learned that it's not more things that I need. It's not money that I need. It's not offspring that I need. There is not anything on this earth that I need more than I need God.